everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. I'm your aunt, Mary Albrecht.
And I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht. And today we're going to talk a little bit about survival mode and what it's like to go through that. Because we brought it up in Joe's episode last week, so we figured we'd go a little bit more into it. We do, however, have another family dinner submission to read for you guys. So I think we're gonna do that first, and then we'll get into our topic after that.
Which, again, I've really enjoyed this. And Katie and I were just talking before we went on the air here that we are hoping and really wanting to come up with another questionnaire submission opportunity for the listeners to do come the new year. And maybe we'll throw these kind of things in every now and then because it's fun. It's fun getting to know the listeners.
We've been getting good feedback from it. A lot of people think it's really soothing.
Right.
Hopefully that's the same for you guys too, but we're going to keep doing it for now. It seems like a good way to get to know all of you guys.
Yeah, and you can share if you want and you don't have to, or you can be anonymous.
But there's prizes if you're not anonymous.
Right. Prizes. Another raffle coming.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to read the submission from one of my clients, Carol Kenny. Not to be confused with Karen Kelly.
Which is another submission coming soon.
Which is another submission. I have a Carol Kenny and a Karen Kelly. And it's very tongue-tying. I just want you to all try that several times. Karen Kelly, Carol Kenny.
Carol Kenny, Karen. Carol Kenny, Karen Kelly. Right?
Carol Kenny, Karen.
Carol and Karen, Kelly. We're looking at
you. Anyway, you all practice and get back to us, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, Carol is age 61, and she is describing just the regular meals that she had growing up, not a holiday or anything special. So describe the setting, table size, room size, etc. And she said that they had a small kitchen in their home with orange, brown, and cream color patterned carpeting. And then she writes, who has carpeting in their kitchen, LOL.
Oh, my God. Actually, good point. I didn't think about that.
Orange, brown, and cream colored carpeting. That sounds pretty unique.
I can picture that coloring.
Yes.
But not in a kitchen.
Not in a kitchen.
Yeah.
We had 7 people in our family, my parents and 5 kids, and we always ate at 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, and then they did not use any, or they did not have any TV or music on while they ate, and alcohol was not consumed by neither the kids nor the adults.
And I like the way she writes neither at dinners, because we
probably drink afterwards.
I was going to say, neither at dinner. Mm-hmm. So just checking. And the family members, okay, so Mom, Dad, Kathy, Tom, Carol, Chris, and Bob. I know that there's 3 girls and 2 boys, and I'm assuming that's the order because Carol's the middle child, I do know. So
I think we all kind of list our siblings in order.
In order?
Yeah.
And it's funny that Mom goes before Dad. And sadly, but also joyously, because he led a really good life, Carol's dad just passed away a couple months ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But he was close to 90, or was he a little over 90? Yeah, a little like 92 or something. Great life, nice guy, and just a really celebratory life, somebody to be celebrated, put it that way. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Anyway, so it's nice to be talking about this because he's still here in our memories.
Yeah, we're learning about him too.
Yeah, exactly. And so assigned our favorite seats. Yes, we all sat at the same seats each night. Actually, I read this whole submission through, and they sound very organized in that family. I'd like you to weigh in on that, Carol. I got the right first name. Okay. We're guest invited often. We only had guests occasionally on weekends.
I'm wondering if that was intentional or just happened like that. Like it's just easier to have people over on the weekends or something, or was it like no weeknights? Guests
allowed weeknights. Yeah. Okay, Carol, you these are the things you need to get back to us on. So
how was the table set and who was responsible for setting it? And she said we took turns setting the table, clearing it, and doing the dishes. Wow.
See, organized.
But it's also interesting because I feel like, so she's 61, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that generation, as we've learned from these other people that submitted that the females were in charge of doing that. So if they say they took turns, does that mean the guys were included?
Yeah, that's another question we need answered. I betcha it was.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool that they were already starting to become more modern to today's times, you know?
Yeah, because even like my clients that are in their 70s, it was in those 10 years, it was like, oh, no, no, no. The men didn't go in the kitchen.
Right.
So, yeah.
My, how things have changed.
They always said a prayer before dinner. I believe they're Catholic. That makes sense. Bigger family and saying prayers. And then somewhere a little bit later, there was a thing about reading devotionals. So that's really sweet. That's something that we didn't ever do. We said prayers at holidays. Yeah. So anyway, regular food that was served. Are we hungry now, Katie?
Well, I just had some Velveeta and
I
and
turned
pretzels.
Katie on to Velveeta because I have 16 boxes to use up.
Oh my gosh. Which I don't know if you guys know, but that's a lot of cheese or artificial cheese. Cheese like blocks.
I made a
They come in a
mistake
block
and I ordered
in a cardboard.
16 in a block, and they don't need to be refrigerated till open. What does that tell you? And I ordered 16 instead of 2. I made a mistake on Amazon, and so they all came, and I was laughing. And
How does that happen? How do you accidentally press 16?
well, the quantity, that goes to the side, 1, 2, 8, 16, and I must have like scrolled right or something.
Just kept going, yeah.
And one of my clients said, "Sounds to me like you have your Christmas shopping done." So everybody's getting a box of Velveeta. It's like the proverbial fruitcake, that nobody wants. Just keep passing it on.
Yeah. A box of Velveeta. I can honestly say I've never gotten that for Christmas.
Big ass ribbon around it.
Yeah, just like put one of those little stick-on bows and just pop. And then you're ready to go.
Hand them out.
And you get a Velveeta, you get a Velveeta, and you get a Velveeta. Do you know that reference?
No.
It's like Oprah on her show when she goes, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car.
Oh, I think they'd rather have a car.
I would rather have Velveeta. Shoot.
Especially with pretzels. Anyway, so the regular food. Okay. Go.
So she says, Mom always made dinner with whatever meat was on sale for that week. Oh, remember we were talking about what was the election? The meat was on sale?
Oh, yeah. How about that sale of pork at Jewel?
The sale of pork at Jewel. Sorry, that just reminded me of it. My mom did not work outside the home. She made the best roast beef, mashed potatoes, and gravy. We usually got a small bowl of ice cream for dessert. She always let us bake cookies with her. Oh my gosh, you sound like you have like such a homely little home.
Homey, not homely.
What's homely?
Homely is like ugly or mousy.
Oh, okay. To me, it was all the same. Yes, homey.
Your intent was good, but I just wanted to clarify so she doesn't feel insulted.
No, to me, I've always interchanged them, so that was definitely
good.
not.
Okay, meaning that I know that's what you meant.
No, that seemed like so
homey.
So put together, and everyone loved each other, and
it does sound that way. We're kind of jealous, Carol.
We're not jealous or anything. Yeah,
we're not jealous at all. We're completely evolved.
Always baking cookies with her. That's such a mom thing to let you do.
They did serving dishes on the table, and they passed the food in the same direction every night. But occasionally we grab things. Okay, see what I mean about organized? But then there's that one thing. Occasionally we grab things. So that must have just been a radical moment.
Really going off the rails
like
there.
One of them is just out of control.
Yeah.
All right, manners.
So were the manners called out? And she says, I don't remember manners being called out. When my dad was done eating, he would pick food off our plates when we weren't looking. I learned to eat fast because of that. I'm still like that today.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks for my digestive problems.
And this reminds me of not only me growing up, because we always ate fast because we otherwise wouldn't get seconds, but it reminds me of an episode of Friends where Ross said I had Monica, who was overweight when she was younger, his sister.
Oh, yeah.
She was overweight, and he said, I had Monica in my family. If I didn't eat fast, I didn't eat. And so this reminds me Your dad is the Monica in the situation.
Oh, okay. Monica.
And I think that's kind of funny.
It didn't matter what we wore to dinner as long as they had a shirt on. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
Okay. So I wasn't allowed to just sit in my shorts or something?
No shoes, no shirt, no service. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they had to wear shoes too.
Yeah, well, have to ask that one too.
What was the conversation like? Did you take turns talking? Were there any topics off limits? And she said, we had conversation, and it was usually about school or whatever activity we were into at the time. My dad would also have us take turns reading from a daily devotional book.
Oh, see?
Yeah, so it sounds like they were very religious.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of discussion afterwards that I remember. Maybe a few questions, but she also remembers liking it.
Liking the devotional book?
Yeah, after
the reading. Yeah, I like it.
And maybe just the general discussion.
Or just in general, yeah.
Yeah, she liked
good
the
memories.
general discussion, which I think is kind of what we were getting at. Like you make good memories around the dinner table.
Yeah, I mean,
you can.
Most people.
Yeah, you can. This isn't an everyone.
Again,
kind
I'm
of thing.
fine. I'm not jealous at all.
Fine.
Just fine.
I'm fine.
Were you required to eat all of your food or try all the different types of food? We were required to try a few bites of everything. My dad was a meat and potatoes man, so Mom made mostly meals with meat, veggie, potato, bread, and fruit.
She says basic meals, which I think that's a very elaborate meal.
Basic
honestly.
meals, right? Mostly basic meals.
I'm looking at myself who doesn't cook, or when I do, it's very minimal, and I see, oh my gosh, you had one of every category in your
veggie, potato, bread, and fruit
of the
Holy
food pyramid.
crap.
Yeah. Which that's great. It seems like it's very well rounded. And then
organized.
Organized and ready to go. Were the meals fast or slow in your mind? She says, we all ate fast. I sat next to my dad, and I would always eat fast so that he wouldn't steal food off my plate, like what she said earlier. Yeah.
Okay, so she said that earlier, but she didn't say that she was actually sitting next to him, so that's even worse. No wonder you eat fast, because you probably had it worse, than the other kids.
And that sounds, it sounds so playful, you
know?
Yeah. Like I could see a good dad being like, oh, I'm gonna get it, like he tries to take it from you and everything.
I would think he was like that. Unlike other people.
Just let it
unlike
fade off. Yeah. What was the expected etiquette when the meal was over? Stay and visit, take your dishes to the sink, do the dishes. She says we sat until everyone was done. We talked for a little bit afterwards, and then whoever's turn it was to take dishes over to the sink did that. We did not have a dishwasher, so we took turns washing and drying the dishes each night with my mom. We always had a great conversation doing that, even though we argued whose turn it was. My gosh, are you guys the Brady Bunch or what?
Exactly. Marsha, Jan.
It's not my turn to do it. Greg. This is what it reminds me of. It's just all those date or nighttime, what is it, primetime TV shows or whatever, where it was just of a family, like the Brady Bunch.
Yep. Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah, Leave It to Beaver is another one. You guys sound like a classic old sitcom.
Which actually, look at, what else would you like to add that stands out of memory? It was a great way to connect as a family. I think it's a lost art in today's family.
When we've kind of touched on this a little bit, that it's different especially with my generation and younger and stuff. I do think that we're trying to get back to the dinner thing, but it's not.
Do you think the pandemic has helped with that? I would imagine.
I can imagine if you're at home.
If they're all doing virtual learning and
virtual learning, virtual work, you're at home so you can start the oven earlier.
Right.
Because that is a big thing when both members of the family are working. Someone's got to get home and you're tired after a long day. It's hard to put stuff on the stove or oven or whatever to get a meal going. But if you're home, it might be a little bit easier. So maybe,
one of the byproducts that's positive from the pandemic?
I think just more togetherness in general.
But in general, hopefully some values will stay.
Yeah. I think if you want to do something, you can do it. No matter. I mean, you just got to put the effort in.
But maybe the pandemic was just a good reminder.
Yeah.
This is good to have more family time.
Yeah.
If you like your family.
True.
You got to like them.
But I think of like I have some distant friends that have young kids and everything. Like they have a young family, and they were like, "This was kind of a blessing." I get to see my kids actually grow up a little bit, spend time with them, even though you couldn't really do much outside the house this past year. But it is,
Yeah, and I
there's some
even
blessings from it.
remember overhearing some people say that they don't want to go back to work in the office. They love working from home, because there's a lot of conveniences about it. Other people say they can't stand working from home because they like the separation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all levels, isn't it? Interesting. I find it fascinating. But
Yeah, it is. I mean, it depends on the person and your situation. Like if you have space, you have your own like work space in your house, maybe it's a little bit different than just like, oh, I'm going to my couch and this is also where I'm doing leisure stuff and
yeah.
all of the above, like it's just all blurs together into one big.
Yeah, that they say
Terrible.
that it's healthy to separate it if you can, even if you're at home. But anyway, but yeah, Carol, this is so touching because number 19 especially touched my heart. If you want to read it, Katie, it's how do you think these memories shaped how you are today?
So she says, family has always been a priority. My parents instilled that in us, and I've tried very hard to keep those connections with my own children and extended family today. Everyone is welcome at our table, and the more the merrier. Meals are kept simple and casual. We do buffet style in our house because it's easier. I try to have family and or friends over every Sunday for dinner when we can. I have wonderful memories at the dinner table growing up. I want to pass it on to my own kids.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's so homey, not homely.
It's not homely at all. It's homey, but I love how it's every Sunday because Sunday also seems like a really good family day. And so to have people over on Sunday as sort of an extended family, like I know she would have her in-laws over, sometimes the neighbors, a lot of times her kids, but always I remember her saying on Saturdays when she would be in class, say that, yeah, I'm having, 24 people over to my house tomorrow. This was obviously pre-COVID, but, she would go anywhere from 5 to, 24 and for football or whatever, but always on Sunday because that's just a good day to get together. And it's just really kind of warms my heart to think of it. And
this is a really nice story.
And so after COVID's over, I'll probably be knocking on your door on Sunday. On Sundays.
Hey, everyone's welcome, it sounds like.
You said everyone was welcome.
Is she Italian?
I don't think so.
Because I've heard of, I had an old Italian coworker that said that in Italian families, Sundays are like, for lack of a better word, like biblical. You are always with your family. You're always having like a dinner with them. Not biblical in the sense of actual Bibles, because I guess it literally is meant for that. But you treat it as this is what we do.
The day of rest.
This is just what we do. We hang out with our family. We have big pasta nights and all that stuff. So.
And I just don't even know because I don't know her maiden name. I did know it at one time, but I can't think of it right now. But
I'm sure it's not the
names
only
are
culture. But
Kathy, Tom, Carol, Chris, and Bob.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very Italian. I'll be honest.
Who knows? Anyway, Carol, thank you so much. That was so touching. I really it warms my heart to think of that, and I love the way you're trying to pass it on to your kids. And Carol has 2 grandchildren now. Right, 2. Trying to keep track of all my peeps with their kids and grandkids. So yeah, she's passing it on to a couple generations.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So
yeah, thank you, Carol. That was really nice to hear your story.
And so again, we're going to keep reading the submissions until we're done, and then when we're done, we're going to have a new submission topic. So good times. Anyway, so yeah, we were talking last week with Joe, and I think by the time this airs, obviously that one will be up. But it came up about how he never really had time to think about what he wanted to do with his life. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you can listen to it because he's realizing that all of a sudden his head is clearing. His dad will have been past 5 years this Christmas Day. And, there's recovery time and all of that, but it takes a long time to all of a sudden have the space to not be living in what we call survival mode, which is in their view, there's all kinds of survival modes, but in being Ken's kids, it was kind of just trying to get through the day and trying to keep the peace. Am I stating that correctly?
Yeah, I kind of see it as, yeah, like what you were saying. It's just there's so much happening. There's so much chaos, that an unexpected chaos, but kind of expected at the same time. You
Yes.
always would expect the unexpected, that you're living day by day and you couldn't actually think of the future. Like you could only think of the right now, what I can do to live right now
And you couldn't,
and be safe right now.
and that was exhausting enough just to get through that. Like there was no dreaming, there was no where do you want to go to college, what do you want to do with your life, like in
Right.
your mind, like planning your wedding. Remember you said that to Joe, like so
Yeah.
many of your friends thought about their wedding.
They have their whole wedding planned out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
have that.
there was no space for that. Again, it was trying to get through.
Yeah.
And I think all three kids have that, and we've touched on it in the podcast in the past, and I've tried to explain to them, that think of yourselves now like you're just starting, like you're can be a freshman in college, or maybe a couple of you are a little further along, but meaning now you can finally say, okay, this is the direction I want to take, because you've had some time to think about who you want to be, and you're not just trying to get away from the chaos of Ken. And anyway, so I find that, I mean, I was obviously the same way, but it's different, I think, being the kid of it, So I don't know if you want to describe it a little bit more, like were you filled with anxiety? Did you even know you weren't able to think of anything else, or were you just going through the motions? I mean,
Yeah.
Did you think it was normal?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that it was abnormal until probably recently, because I just think of all these people that have like all their, even Sarah and I were talking today about this, that she had her birthday recently.
30th.
Happy birthday, Sarah. And one of her friends reached out to me and asked me what her favorite flower was for this event. And I was like, I don't even know if Sarah has a favorite flower, because I was like, we have never discussed anything like this, and Sarah later that night, after she was surprised and everything, she realized that she didn't have one either. And she was also like, I don't think I've had a lot of favorite anything, growing up. And to me, that kind of fits into what I was thinking too, because I've been thinking about the survival mode thing. And when you're so focused on keeping yourself safe, it's kind of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like your physiological needs are the most important. If that's not safe, then everything else just goes out the window. Like you're not going to be focused on that stuff.
Right. So you can't, like, if you're hungry, all you're focused on is getting food.
Right.
And if you're in danger, or just trying to keep the peace, or just trying to keep from eruptions and anger, there's no way you can think about happiness and joy and future.
What your favorite flower is. Yeah. Like it just doesn't happen. And I mean, I started to learn a little bit more about myself in my 20s. I realized that my favorite sport to watch is football, and my favorite team is the Packers. I finally got something, so I found something and I stuck to it, But then everything else, like everyone, I was always so jealous of people that they just knew what they wanted. And then they knew that this was like their favorite kind, and they would talk about it. They make things sound so excited when you have a favorite anything. It just sounds so enticing, from another person. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just don't know what mine is.
What about a favorite color?
I mean, growing up, I guess it was green or purple. I don't know. I have no idea.
See?
Lately, I've been saying yellow, but I still don't.
Green,
I don't want
purple,
to wear yellow.
Yeah, doesn't seem very definite.
Right. Yeah, and that's why it was always kind of hard when people would ask that, because I don't have a definitive answer.
Favorite song growing up?
Not
Not the One Direction, because that was later.
Growing up. Yeah.
And it can't be Bruce Springsteen, right? Because
Yeah. It depends.
Okay.
It depends at the time. I guess I liked Backstreet Boys back then. I liked Green Day.
Favorite movie?
Of all time? Oh gosh.
Growing up. Like a movie that like in your, I don't know, grade school, high school years that you just like loved. Like, oh my God, that was like, for me, I remember Grease.
Oh,
and
yeah,
just
I mean, Grease is good.
being like, wow, that was great. And Flashdance.
I mean, me and my like childhood best friend would watch movies together, and together we would like laugh and think they're funny and stuff. So those were like Cruel Intentions. We watched Sky High. I mean, I can tell you consistently my favorite cartoon was always SpongeBob. So at least I got something there. Yeah.
There you go.
And I've realized that I bond with people who also like SpongeBob. I think that's really like, as soon as I find out they like it, we become good friends, you know.
And I've never watched it.
You
Shocking.
have no idea. Yeah. But did you have that where you didn't know what your favorite, or you didn't know what you liked? You didn't know your identity?
I had more, which is surprising, you know, because my level of abuse was pretty extreme. But again, maybe not being the parent, you know, meaning that anger and abuse coming from the parent, maybe I felt
Who's
a little
teaching
safer
you?
or something, you know. I definitely had a favorite color, favorite movies, that kind of thing. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So the small things, yes. Like favorite flower, even I know was a daisy. I just loved it. And cats, I always loved cats as my favorite pet. Shocking.
Yeah, no surprise there.
But in terms of big stuff, I never planned my wedding. I never thought about graduation from anything. I never knew, I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. There was no space to think about bigger things like that. I had no idea where I wanted to go to college.
What about committing to another person? Like, not just the wedding, but the idea of marriage. Did you?
I certainly didn't think of marriage.
I didn't either.
I always thought more of a knight in shining armor coming to rescue me. But I never wanted kids. I never had any, or I never thought about kids. I never was, when I have kids someday kind of thing. No way, because it was so miserable. I was like, no way am I having kids.
How can I bring a kid into this family?
Yeah. And then, so that kind of took away the marriage idea. But I liked the knight in shining armor of somebody rescuing me from this chaos.
Honestly, it has an appeal, especially when you're younger.
Yeah. And at the time, Chad Everett was one of them. He was on Medical Center.
Oh, this is an actor? Okay.
These are actors that I had crushes on. Let's see, who else? I had a crush on Glenn Campbell, he kind of looked like Chad Everett a little bit. And
this is interesting because I don't get the references now. I don't know who these people are.
There we go. Yeah. And yeah. So anyway, but it was more of a romantic thing I was longing for as opposed to marriage and kids.
Which is like a normal
teenager,
thing.
girl.
Yeah, you see these men and idolize them and want to, you know.
And they're just perfect, and I just think,
they can do no wrong. They're gonna sweep you off your feet, you know.
And it's just gonna be perfect. So yeah, but no, certainly not kids, certainly not marriage. But again, with the career thing, I mean, it took me all through my 20s. I had aerobics the whole while. I started teaching in college, but all through my 20s to really be able to clear my head enough to be like, okay, this I actually want to do as a career. Like, it was more just, trying to get through at first. And then after moving to Rhode Island and getting away from Ken, then it was years of getting healthy before I could even start to really grow emotionally, which was in my 30s. So
yeah,
that's why, you know, I feel like with Joe, he's going to be 34 and Sarah's 30 and you're 28. I mean, it's like it's probably just starting now for Joe, and Sarah's really starting to think about things like that more. And then you've kind of leapt ahead. I think a lot of it, the book helped because you got to process a lot of the stuff.
Got to write about it, talk about it,
yeah,
all that stuff, all really healthy stuff of dealing with your emotions. However, I'm still figuring it out too. Like, I'm still learning that I'm not in survival mode anymore. I'm actually like able to just sit and be comfortable, you know, with myself. And I feel like that's huge.
Isn't it easily triggered though sometimes, where or is it getting less and less at least? But all of a sudden I'll just be in survival mode, which is what we wanted to talk about, the fight or flight, when you're threatened by something from...
Which I think is a different kind of... we were talking about this before, that it's a different kind of, I guess, survival mentality, because you get into like the it's not like the day to day you're expecting something bad to happen. It's like when something bad happens, then it's how you process it in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's degrees of survival mode, and there's degrees of threat. So your dad was a threat overall in our childhoods growing up. However, when he was on the attack, there would be sort of the heightened, like, fight or flight. I either need to fight back with him right now, or I need to run away. And so that would be kind of the more like acute version versus the chronic version of being in survival mode. But then there's other kinds of things that happen, at least for me in my life, where I get maybe attacked by a client about something that I feel. Mm-hmm. And my threat level goes up because of growing up with Ken. It's not that client that I'm threatened by, it's the memories that I'm threatened by. But nevertheless, I do get that the reaction of just wanting to either, it depends on the day, I either start fighting back or I just back down and get off the phone. Right. And retreat with my tail between my legs.
Which I think with fight or flight, because we've all heard that term in psychology and everything, when you're in a conflict like that, that's like the two technically reactions, but I think there's like sub reactions of each. Like flight could be actually avoiding and running away, but I also think it could be like the shutting down that you were kind of saying, or like where you're not responding, but you're kind of flying away in your own mind.
Yeah, you're just trying to get away from it, in whatever way,
yeah,
symbolically,
even if it's just mentally, like you're just shut off in a way. And I feel like that's part of the flight part of it, and then the fight can be physical or verbal, where some people, I think it's men mostly, that react in physical. They'll actually
like
they'll duke it out with each other,
start hitting.
Like they show this. I mean, you look at any dating show and like The Bachelorette, and you see how girls are more, petty and all that stuff, and then the guys, they're petty, but they're also like, if they're mad, they'll just like throw a punch, and then that's like how they deal with it.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's not necessarily like a rational thought. Like people that do this, they respond in ways that they don't always want to. Like we always hear of couples that say like, oh, I didn't mean what I said, it just came out, like if they're in the middle of a fight or something like that. Yeah.
And do you have that where you've done that and then the next day you wake up and go, oh, of course, I wish I wouldn't have done that?
Yeah. And that's the goal, is to not get to that point, but it does sometimes. You're always, there's things that rub people the wrong way all the time, and it's always when you're not expecting it. Obviously, you try to train yourself so that the reactions become less severe, but your mind, if it's just shutting down the way that it does, you do all sorts of stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah, and I was having a hard time just recently because I've been reactive, especially since Terry got cancer, because that's sort of been the straw for me that's making me feel a threat almost all the time, a threat about like my future and my husband and my safety and all of that.
It's a real threat.
And just really like stressed as well and exhausted. And so I've been snapping at people. I've been getting in fights a little bit more than I've ever in my life. And I have this trauma therapist, and I've been talking to her about it, and she actually thinks that it's good because I'm actually getting healthier. And the reason I'm actually snapping is because I'm in these fight or flight situations, but rather than flying away, I choose to fight because I've had it and I don't want to take it anymore when I get insulted or when I don't get heard or when somebody tells me I am not allowed to think that way, like I've just had it. So she thinks it's good that I'm fighting it. However, my method of fighting it isn't the healthiest, so this is what I'm trying to learn. And she said to me that I need to forgive myself when I lash out and I snap, because what happens when you have post-traumatic stress disorder, which both you and I have from growing up with your dad, even though it was a chronic thing over many, many years, it still initiates an instant response in certain situations. And she said that what happens is that the amygdala, which is where the fight or flight reaction comes from, which it's actually a place at the base of your brain. It's a collection of cells, and this is where emotions are given meaning, remembered, and attached to associations and responses. They're called emotional memories. And this is from healthline.com, and we'll put this in our description. But that's at the base of the brain. But there's a part of the brain in the front called the frontal lobes. And this is where your judgment occurs. It's called your prefrontal cortex. And this is where you get rational thoughts, and you are able to reason, you are able to plan, make decisions, think clearly, all of that. What I didn't, and I've known all that. I've known about the amygdala, which is the fight or flight, threaten. I either need to run or I need to fight. And I've known about the frontal lobes, which is where all the judgment occurs. But what I didn't realize is that the amygdala hijacks the frontal lobes when the threat is high. Okay, meaning your frontal lobes completely shut down. Your judgment, your reasoning, your logic, your ration, it all shuts down. So when she says to me, forgive yourself for lashing out, your threat level was so high that was the only way you could survive in that moment, was to lash out and to fight back. Even though the threat wasn't real, it was perceived as real by your amygdala because of your past. Mm-hmm. So she's like, you need to forgive yourself and I didn't realize that your entire frontal lobe shuts down when the threat is high. And my threats have been more perceived as high these days because I'm getting healthier. I'm starting to recognize when people are not hearing me or poo-pooing me or insulting me or, shutting me down or whatever. I've just had it, when people are inappropriate or have no boundaries. And so I'm actually lashing out more. So the key in all this is kind of complicated, but the key in all of this and what she's helping me with is, first of all, forgive myself for lashing out. Second of all, learning from those situations, like, how did you feel? What were the signs, the physical signs going into it? And recreating them in your mind with some meditative principles. And then also just being aware of the triggers now that you know what they are. Like, I never even knew what they are because we didn't have a clear head. Mm-hmm. So being aware of them going forward, okay, that's a bad topic to get into. I just know it. I know it. Don't say it. Wait until the emotions die down, because the emotions are from the amygdala.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm finding it fascinating. I love this kind of study about the brain, but I didn't understand forgiving myself because I've always thought of myself as a really nice person. And some of the things I've said recently to clients aren't very nice. And I'm shocked. And,
I think, setting the standard for yourself that you're high, like, not just you, but just people in general, that you're like a nice person is really high standard, because no one's nice all the time. You're a real person with real emotions, and things just happen. Like, things, you disagree with things, and sometimes it comes out in ways that you don't want it to, but the emotions behind it are valid, like that kind of thing. Like, I think just to say that we're like nice all the time, it's just unrealistic.
Yeah, that's kind of too simple of a term.
Like,
how
they're so nice.
She's so nice.
Really?
I don't want to be nice. But
like,
do you
be nice when it's appropriate, but when if someone's stepping on you, like, you're allowed to say something back,
And even if you perceive it as stepping on you, it's like we're human, right?
And like, so you can get a further understanding with the other person, and maybe that wasn't their intent, and if they, try to correct things, then that's a good relationship. It just depends on the person. It depends on if they're meant to be in your life, and vice versa.
Have you done that though with friends? I know like relationships are different, like, like partner relationships, but like just with friends, do you have it, or like with your sister right now or whatever, do you have it where all of a sudden you just say something that you just really regret? Like you lash out like a cat with claws, like,
Yeah. The thing that comes to mind actually was, she might listen to this, but it's my college roommate. I She was one of my good friends back in college, and I still think we're pretty good friends, honestly. But when we left for school, we got into an argument, and the argument was mostly me arguing. I wanted her to see something that meant was really important to me. I think it was like the camp that I worked at, and I was like, I just really want this person I'm close with to see another thing that's like cool with me before she leaves and I don't know when I see her again, kind of thing. And she had to back out last minute, and I lashed out in a way that I am not proud of. The emotions behind it were valid at the time, but I almost thought it was. That's how my mind was thinking. Was like this. It was pent up over time and time again of a lot of stuff like that, and I just wanted to. I was hurt, so I acted out in anger, and we later talked about it, and she like wrote me this like really nice letter and was like, I really didn't mean to do that, I'm so sorry, and everything. And we ended up being like really good, and we're still friends to this day. I just went to her wedding a couple months ago, like it ended up working out, but at the time when you're hurt, it's easy to lash out at another person.
Which hurt can be considered a threat in a different way.
Yeah.
Your emotions are at risk.
Yeah.
Maybe not your physical, self, but your emotional self,
Yeah. And I think of I've probably snapped at old bosses for various reasons. I mean, I'm definitely not perfect by any means when it comes to my emotions.
One thing I guess I learned from some of these experiences is that some of these things had been festering for a while, and they came out with the threat, but they could have been prevented. If you're in a relationship with a friend or whoever, anybody, colleague, boss, whatever, somebody that you want to continue a healthy relationship with, and things are festering, they need to probably be talked about if they don't go away, rather than just coming out of nowhere when you're emotional. And that's one thing I regret, is that there were some issues that I wasn't okay with for months, even years, with a couple of these situations, and I never mentioned it, and it just came out at the least opportune time.
Yeah.
So that's a learning lesson too. If it's festering, you probably need to talk about it to the person.
And do it in a way that's controlled for you, so that you can actually control your response.
Exactly.
So pull them to the side, or call them on the phone or whatever. I wouldn't recommend doing this kind of thing over text, because that can be
that's really misconstrued.
Yes, easily misconstrued. But if you just talk to someone one-on-one and just say, this action bothered me, not you bothered me, because there's a big difference. Like if you say just focus on the action, then that can be more constructive, I think.
There you go. That's a really healthy thing to say too, as opposed to attacking the whole person.
You always do this to me.
You always and never. Yeah, those are two words that I've discovered, But
absolutes,
I really like the art of communication, both verbally and written. And I'm really learning a lot since we wrote the book, and now we're doing this podcast. And then when I do the blogs and just write emails in general to people, I'm really starting to think more about how I phrase things and how it can be misconstrued or how it can be better construed. And I find it to be really interesting. The art of communication really is an art to do it well, to get it across the way you mean it. It's almost impossible. It's amazing that we communicate at all.
Yeah, because people, oh my gosh. Because people perceive things different than how you transmitted or whatever. The things that you're like putting out into the world, other people don't always perceive the same way.
Yeah, and that can be so frustrating because you just want it to be obvious.
Right.
Don't you know me?
Yeah, like why doesn't this make sense to you? Like I saw a picture of, it was like a cartoon, and this like kind of illustrates what you're talking about with like perceptions and everything, like of two people, and in between them was a letter 9 or 6. From one view, it looked like the letter or the number 6.
Mm-hmm.
From the other view, because a 6 upside down is a 9.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like a 9, and they were both saying, "This is a 6. This is a 9," and both of them were right.
That's so
but they
interesting.
were
Yeah.
not seeing it from the other point of view, you know?
Not even saying, yeah, you're right. If I were standing in your shoes, it would be a 6.
Right. If I just went over to the other side, like it just.
Wow, I love that symbolism.
Right. And it's like actually a cool thing. I mean, that's why communication can never be perfect, because we all have our own experiences that create what we see in the world, you know, because our experiences create us.
Yeah. Wow, I like that symbolism, though. That's really easy to understand.
Yeah, I'll show it to you after we're done and everything. But
oh, yeah, I can't wait to see it. Yeah, because I can picture something like that. I mean, there's a lot of, they say even like if you put a comma in a sentence, it changes the whole meaning of the sentence, with certain words.
Yeah.
Like,
you want to really get into the phonetics and stuff, yeah.
Anyway, but in terms of survival mode, you definitely are noticing more and more that you don't have to be and you're not, but every once in a while you're triggered. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think you can go through life and just have a perfect slate of emotions all the time. I just think that's like
boring.
Boring, first of all, and then not realistic, because no matter what, you're going to feel fear, you're going to feel anger, you're going to feel sadness. Like, it just comes out when you're not expecting it. However, I do think I've come a long way since my dad was alive and everything. So I think I've improved a lot, or at least I try to. That's the goal.
At least you try, and that's what's neat. And the awareness,
the awareness
if
is
you
big.
if you haven't done it the way that you like or communicated the way you like, at least you're aware.
Yeah, and then you can maybe correct it another time if you see a similar situation come up, or maybe not. Maybe you still have to learn more. Like it's different for everyone.
But I think it's neat to constantly be trying to get better at communication in general, and just also self-communication. So so anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this topic. If you want to weigh in on any of the things that trigger you to want to throw punches or run.
Yeah.
It's so funny when women do that, though. Like, sometimes you see it on TV where all of a sudden, like on a show, like, I don't know, wasn't it, speaking of Friends, didn't Rachel and Monica like start getting into like fights when they're crawling all over each other's back and punching each other and doing stuff?
They did get into a physical fight. And actually, now that I mention it, me and my friend Mandy got into a fight once, like a
little fist fight.
Yeah, it was a weird thing, and probably only happens with someone who is equivalent to a sister. But yeah, like it was. We got started with a pillow fight, then the hair was pulled. And I don't know what it was.
Mandy.
Mandy.
You guys know her.
Yeah.
Oh, Mandy. The Barry Manilow song?
Nope.
See, yay, I know some things she doesn't.
Yeah, I guess maybe we have different references. But I mean, with what you were talking about, how you were struggling to forgive yourself, I do think that is good advice, that you honor the stuff that was going on. And I mean, it may not have came out how you liked, but I'm glad that you're also learning to be okay with yourself if you act in a way that you didn't like, or anything like that.
Yeah, and I'm learning that the people that really matter and the people that really care will accept that. We'll accept the foible, we'll accept the reaction, we'll accept the emotion. Now, obviously, if it were all the time, I think it'd be like, well, she's a hothead or whatever. But in general, they know who I am at the core, but they also are willing to accept when I just lose it. And I didn't ever think, I always thought you'd just make one mistake and you're out, and the grudge is held forever, right? Like with your dad, but also even grandma and grandpa would, oh no, not you too. Oh my God, 2 kids who can't make it in the world just because I was angry about something. I was suddenly your dad.
Right.
Everything I had worked for was out the window, and I was just as bad as him because I got angry once, or something like that.
Right.
And so learning to forgive myself and learning that people actually forgive as well.
People
wow.
do. The people that are like supposed to be in your life will be. And most people don't get upset if you get upset like one time or or a couple times or something like that. Like it's more normal for the opposite, kind of like what I was saying with my old college roommate. I mean, I was expecting the friendship to be over at that point.
Right.
I literally
That's
was like
what we
telling
learned.
our mutual friends, I'm like, I think it's over. Until that wasn't the case at all. She wrote me a nice letter, and it was like she still wanted me to be in her life, and I was really touched and surprised,
And like you said, that's more the norm, at least in healthy situations. It's kind of like what Joe said last week when he said, I got out of the house and realized people are actually nice. People are actually pretty good people. They actually are pretty calm and caring,
and like rational and
yeah.
They can look out for others and deal with our shortcomings or anything like that. So
yeah, so that's sad that we had to wait that long, but at least we're learning it, right?
Yeah, that's all that we can do is just learn.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm getting a little tired of learning, but here I am, still trying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going until I die. I'm gonna try to learn.
Well, hopefully that's not for some
hopefully
time.
That's not for a while. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Anywho,
I think we need to wrap it up because Katie has to go have
the Packers and the Bears are playing tonight as the time of recording. So this is
a big thing. She's actually dressed already in a Packer outfit.
I am. I'm
head
ready.
to toe Packer gear. No, just kidding. Just a hoodie.
Just
a hoodie.
I have some Packer pants. I'll probably put on when I get home.
She does have Packer pants. I was kidding. Okay.
Should I get out my cheese head from the closet?
You got your cheese head, and do you have green and gold socks though?
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I think I got you those.
I think you did.
Oh, shoot. I contributed.
I remember I didn't know who I got them from. I just got a mysterious Amazon package.
Yes, I remember now. That was me. Oh, boy.
I was like, who sent this to me? Who's my secret admirer?
Oh, gosh. Kind of funny. I'm wearing a shade of green, not even realizing.
And your hair's gold. So
and my hair's gold.
You look like an honorary Packer player right now.
Oh, my eyes are gold.
You got them golden eyes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We will
yes, thank you all for listening.
I put the website on with this article. It really is interesting if you guys want to understand about the amygdala. I mean, I just like saying amygdala. So that alone is worth it.
It is a fun word.
Amygdala.
Amygdala. Sounds like a Star Wars name.
Oh, dear. Okay. Of course, I wouldn't know what that means.
Nope, that's okay.
Hey, didn't somebody just die, though? An actor from Star Wars, Darth Vader? Was that Star Wars?
Oh, Darth Vader? Yes, Darth Vader. Darth Vader is from Star Wars.
Okay.
Pretty big character.
The actor just died this morning, or they just put it on the news that he died either this morning or last night.
I'm surprised. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was like 84, and he was tall. That's all I know. He got the part because he was so tall.
And he was so it wasn't the voice. It was the guy that was.
It was the actual actor in the outfit.
in the outfit from I think Star Wars.
What a cute outfit that was.
Yeah, adorable. That's what he's known for.
Anyway, yeah, pass that along to Matt because anyway. But he had a good life too, like Carol's dad. And now I brought it full circle.
Gosh, full circle moment. Yep.
I'm good at that. Okay, so until next time, and we will be putting this all in the description, and feel free to reach out at any time, and look forward to more submissions in the new year, season 4.
Woo!
Woo! We're doing great, like a real business. All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.